Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me apologize for whatever inconvenience you might be noticing. It is due to the ongoing industrial action by the non-teaching staff of the institution, which is statewide, it's not peculiar to here. But I can assure you that within a couple of minutes, whatever inconveniences you have noticed will be a thing of the past. Kindly bear with us, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to formally commence this departmental public lecture. Shall we please rise as we take the national, the university, and the Nuesa anthems, one after the other. Please, let's rise.
Ladies and gentlemen, shall we please take our seat?
Please, let's take our seat. The time is against us, and we want to commence proceedings for this departmental public lecture organized by the Department of Accounting of Adekunle Ajashi University. Economics. It is titled Fiscal Reforms and Economic Development. Shall we put our hands together for the department? I am told that this is the maiden edition of this lecture. Let's appreciate the departments once again. Already seated here because we are so mindful of the time. Please join me to welcome the Vice Chancellor of this award-winning university, Professor Olubenga Ige. All right. Let me also invite to the top table a very distinguished individual who is also the Honorable Commissioner for the Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget. Please join me as he comes to the top table, Pastor Emmanuel Igbason. Thank you. Let me also invite to the top table. He is also a discussant. He is also the former chairman of this local government, Honorable Ayo Akonde. Honorable Akonde, please come to the top table. Thank you. Please, you will also join me as I recognize the presence of the landlord of the university. He is the owner of the land, the Alale of Akungba, Oba Sunday Adeyeye. Eba mi ṣe kábíyèsí o. I must also recognize, before we move on, the Dean of the Faculty of the Social Sciences, Professor Ebenezer Ogunbadewa. Professor Ogunbadewa, please come over and join us on the top table. Let's appreciate the Dean, Faculty of the Social Sciences. Every other professors, directors, and other officers of the university here present, you are warmly recognized and you are welcome. Great Nigerian students, are you in the house? Great Nigerian students, put your hands together for because we are mindful of the time, please, without much ado, let me bring to the microphone the head of the department, Dr. Fadiro, a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. Please put your hands together as we welcome our host.
Thank you very much. My Vice Chancellor, the Chief Host of today, my Honorable Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget in Ondo State, other dignitaries, principal officers are not here, some are still going to join us. My Dean, the Dean Faculty of the Social Sciences, and former Executive Chairman, Akoko Northwest Local Government, and my own personal friend, Pioneer Chairman, ICANN and Akoko and District Society. Thank you, you are welcome. Yes, my Kabiyesi, the landlord of the university, my father, my supporter, my friend, Baba is everything to me. You are welcome, sir. I'm so happy that you are able to make it. That's why the short notice I gave you. Kabiyesi, ẹ pẹ́ fún wa, sir. Amen. All other deans here present, directors, heads of department, heads of units, the sub-dean, faculty of the social sciences, are you there? Head and staff of IPPRU, gentlemen of the press, staff and students of economics department, AAUA, great Nigerian university students. Okay, now, staff and students of other departments here present, are you there? Great Nigerian students. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, with great joy and gratitude to the Almighty God, we welcome you to the maiden edition of this departmental public lecture series. I want to give special appreciation also to the chief host of today's event, our amiable Vice Chancellor, for allowing us to do this. Honestly speaking, it's good to be an explorer. We tried it and you allowed it, you made it happen. I think you will give a clap to our Vice Chancellor. We appreciate you, sir. We are here, and as academicians, we teach and we do research. These are two major aspects, not just what academic entails. And not only that, we try to communicate research outcomes in so many ways, through publications, seminars, workshops, and lectures. In the university system, you are going to see different types of lectures. Popular is inaugural lecture, valedictory lectures, and public lectures of this time. With our research outcomes, there are always policy implications of research outcomes. Yes, it may take time for policy implications of research outcomes to be implemented. But as researchers, we must continue. We must not be discouraged. We must continue to communicate our research findings and put forward our recommendations with the hope that one day, somehow, somewhere, there is going to be a sincere and willing regulatory authority to implement our recommendations one day. And this is where we are. We have been involved in research outcome, policy implications. We believe. Don't be discouraged. One day there will be a sincere intention from somewhere to implement our recommendations and research findings with their policy implications and economic implications upon our economy. Yes, here we are today. Nigeria is sharing in the global economic hardship, manifesting in various forms. Yes, we talk of high inflation, insecurity. I don't know, some we like to call it there's hunger in the land. Some of us technically we call it food insecurity. Okay? Declining exports, unstable macroeconomic variables and conditions, and so on and so forth. Yes, discussing some of these issues theoretically may not be sufficient, especially if we have in mind to recommend solutions and find a way of ending some of these problems that we find ourselves. Therefore, inviting practitioners, those who are practicing what we teach, inviting them may be necessary as we are doing today to address some of these issues, okay, that we have been talking about, teaching our students in the class, the theories we have been talking about. So we have the practitioners here today to be able to speak to us on some of these economic issues and see how far we are in the right direction to be able to do what? Help our nation, help our state in some of these issues at hand. My First Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, we present before you today theoretical and practitioner views to fiscal reform. We are going to have at the first aspect quickly, the time is gone, and I hope our students will be mindful of this. We have spent 30 minutes outside before we start. Our 400 level students, we are going to present to you two things today. The first is to do a quick appraisal of fiscal federalism and revenue sharing formula in a presidential system of government. And then another set of people, as we have been hearing it in the debate, some people are saying let's go back to the parliamentary system of government. Which one will pay us? One thing here I know is that there is no system that is bad or good. It depends on the operational, the functionaries, that we make it work or not. So they are going to talk to us about the advantages and disadvantages of a parliamentary system of government. Thereafter, our commissioner, the JAP people, they were going to tell us. They have been there dividing the money, the formula that we read that we have been reading in the books. They are the ones that have been handling it, and they know how much goes to the local government and here and there. So they will talk to us about fiscal reform that have taken place in Ondo State and how these have impacted the socio-economic development of the people of Ondo State. To them, Honorable Igbason and Honorable Akande, I say a big thank you for finding time to do this for us today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for clapping for them. So I want to say, please sit and relax as we journey together in history for this short period of time. Once again, I say, you are all welcome.
We can do better than that for the HOD. Thank you very much for organizing the very first departmental lecture in the Department of Economics. Ladies and gentlemen, let me announce to you that immediately the chief host, Mr. Vice Chancellor, formally declares this lecture open. He's going to step out there for a brief photo session with all invited guests and other senior officers of the university. Now it is time to bring to the microphone the chief host and the Vice Chancellor, Professor Olubenga Ige, to give his opening remark and declare this meeting open. very much. Hello? All right. This one is better. Let me appreciate the Boys Brigade. You are doing wonderfully well. And like I told you some time ago, you will always be invited to all university functions to be part of the programs. Thank you. You are doing well, and the university is proud of you. Yeah, thank you. The Honorable Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, the Ondo State, Pastor Basom Emmanuel. The immediate past chairman, Akoko District, ICANN, Mr. Akonde. The Dean, Faculty of the Social Sciences, Kabiyesi, the Alale of Akumba land, I pay homage. Distinguished professors, directors, deans of faculties, directors of institutes, I appreciate your coming, and all heads of department, particularly the head of department of economics, FCA. The chairman, academic staff union of universities, Adekunle Ajasin University, Akumba Akoko, Dr. Bolu Oshodi. I recognize your presence. You're welcome. I also recognize the presence of the chairman, the academic staff union of Olusegun Agagu University of Science and Technology. You are also welcome. Let me also welcome the woman that is in charge of all the monies of academic staff in Olusegun Agagu University, the treasurer, academic staff union of universities. You are welcome. I want to say that we are happy to be here today because the Department of Economics is organizing this important workshop. There are 2 or 3 things that we do in the university: teaching, research, and community service. Teaching, research, and community service. Added to teaching is the issue of conferences, seminars, workshops, which brings intellectual engagement between the university community and the outside world. That is why we are very delighted that the Department of Economics is doing this in our university today. When the HOD came around to inform me that the department will be organizing this public lecture, I told her that this is a welcome development because that is what universities are noted for. I want to thank all members of staff of the department for the cooperation that you have exhibited in bringing the Honorable Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, in spite of his tight schedule, to Adekunle Ajasin University today, and for Mr. Akonde too. I want to encourage you to continue in this trajectory because that is what defines a university.
At every point that I have to address our academic staff, I have been telling them that there is need for us to increase our feasibility in the area of seminar, in the area of workshop, in the area of public lecture. And I'm happy the Department of Economics has keyed into that. In this country today, we need policies that can bring development. We need policies that can be impactful to the generality of the citizenry. We need policies that can change the narrative in terms of governance. That is why the topic, fiscal reforms and economic development in Ondo State, is very apt. And you have brought somebody that is in charge of the economic policy of Ondo State, Pastor Emmanuel Igbason. He is a round peg in a round hole. By the end of this lecture, I'm convinced, beyond reasonable doubt, that Pastor Igbason will do justice to this topic because that is his area of specialization. I have gone through the lecture, the paper, and if this place is not the right way, I would have proclaimed him Doctor of Accounting. But I know very soon he'll become Doctor of Accounting, PhD in Accounting. When you read through brilliant submissions, you don't need anybody to interpret to you that this is a brilliant submission. What Pastor Igbason have written, which I have gone through, is a brilliant submission. And it will benefit not only our academic staff, but also our students and the society at large. On behalf of the university, I declare this public lecture open, titled Fiscal Reforms and Economic Development in Ondo State. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Boys Brigade, and thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chancellor. With the Vice Chancellor having formally declared this lecture open, I think it is time to allow the panelists and the discussant and the guest lecturer to do justice to their respective assignments. But before then, Mr. Vice Chancellor and members of the top table, as well as invited guests and other senior officers here, will step out there for a very, very brief photo session. Thereafter, the panel and the lecture can continue. Once again, you are welcome. God bless you all.
very much. In continuation of the program,
We would like to invite the panel member that will speak to the topic, which is divided into two by the students, the appraisal of current fiscal federalism in Nigeria, in Ondo State and Nigeria, while the second part is the parliamentary system of government. That is what, again, because there have been a serious and thorough debate outside that is it the presidential system that is better for Nigeria or parliamentary system. Also for us to also know the sharing, allocation, distribution in Nigeria, in which we need to have more knowledge. To this effect, we want to invite the panel member in person, the first person of Dr. Kudaisi, Dr. Kudaisi of Economics Department. You are welcome, ma'am. Thank you very much. The second panelist is Mr. Adeleye. Mr. Adeleye, please let's appreciate them. Then the third person is Dr. Harrison Idowu. You are welcome, sir. You are welcome, sir. While the last panel member is Mr. Ayeni of Economics Department. So I'm going to hand over to the Dr. Kudaisi to roll out the necessary information and how the discussion will go about. Thank you very much.
Then we also have another group here. We have a parliamentary system of government. So for this topic, we have two students too that will speak to us. The first person is Ayonleke Tobi. Then we have Ogumilade Sophia. Ogumilade. So the rule is that the lead speaker for Group A, the current fiscal federalism in Nigeria, Mohammed Jirita, you speak for 5 minutes. Then the second person, Fayobo Grace, you speak for 3 minutes. Then for the second group too, we have Ayonleke Tobi, you speak for 5 minutes. Then the second speaker there, Ogumilade Sophia, you speak for 3 minutes. So we have the first speaker now, Mohammed Jirita. So, okay. So because of the time, Jirita, you have 4 minutes. Just use 4 minutes to speak to the topic. So you have the floor.
Good day, Excellencies, my distinguished lecturers, and my fellow students. It is a great honor to have distinguished individuals in our midst. I am Mohammed Jirita, a 400-level student of Economics Department. I am here to speak on the topic, an appraiser of the current fiscal federalism in Nigeria. Federalism can be traced back to the Richard Constitution of 1946, which laid emphasis on the social, political, and economic factors that gave birth to true federalism in 1954. Federalism is a system of government in which the governmental power is being distributed among the various components, which are the state, the federal, and the local government. Fiscal federalism focus on government taxation and spending, and it helps government in regulating its activities. Fiscal policies are important for economic growth and stabilization. Various fiscal reforms include areas of education, taxation, healthcare, and public finance. Fiscal reforms in Nigeria, we have the Philipson Commission of 1946, the Philipson Commission of 1951. We have the Chicks Commission of 1954. We have the Reisman Commission of 1958. We have the Bid Commission of 1964. We have the Dina Commission of 1968. And we have the Military Allocation Committee. We have the Okigbo Commission of 1977. We have the Danjuma Commission of 1980. These are various reforms that have been put together to determine our revenue sharing formula. The current revenue sharing formula, it says that 52.68% to be allocated to the federal government, while 26.72% to be allocated to the state government, and 20.60% to be allocated to the local government. The federal government gets more revenue, and that is why people are dictating for the autonomy of the local government. In Nigeria, one of our major issues is our issue of the monetary policy and the fiscal policy. It is assumed that our inflation rate is said to be a demand push inflation, whereas it is not. It is a cost push inflation, where the central bank is implementing a contractionary policy, and the government are using fiscal policy to control the economy in the circulation. This also have effects on the economy. Thank you.
Okay. Good day, everyone. Good day, my Excellency, and good day, everyone. My name is Fayembo Grace Folashade, and I'm here to speak in addendum to what my lead speaker has said on the topic fiscal federalism. I would like to let you know the advantages, the disadvantages, and the challenges of fiscal federalism. To start with, what are the advantages of fiscal federalism? One of the advantages of fiscal federalism is diversity and responsiveness. Fiscal federalism ensures fiscal diversity and responsiveness and varieties of governmental service to the citizens of the country or by the subnational government. One advantage of this fiscal federalism is that if you're an habitant of that country, irrespective of your locality, you can enjoy different range of governmental service. However, another advantage of fiscal federalism is participatory governance. Fiscal federalism ensures governments to participate in politics and also choose their representative into the 3 tiers of government and also be an active player into these 3 tiers of government. Furthermore, fiscal federalism ensures innovation and experimental policy in which development of new policies are being tested and experimented so that to avoid risks within the nation. Additionally, one of the advantages of fiscal federalism is also it generates and ensure internal generation of revenue within the state. If there is a direct relationship between the tax payment and the governmental service being provided to the citizen. Of course, we will tolerate high tax payments. Now, going to the disadvantages of fiscal federalism. One of the disadvantages of fiscal federalism is that it promotes competition within the state, vertical fiscal imbalance and horizontal fiscal imbalance. Vertical fiscal imbalance is when the subnational government does not have enough revenue or capabilities to serve and promote their citizens. While horizontal fiscal imbalance is when the revenue is greater than the expenditure. Now, going to the challenges of fiscal imbalance. One of the challenges and the most important, one of the challenges of fiscal imbalance is unequal distribution of resources. Is unequal distribution of resources in the sense that resources are being distributed to lower tiers of government in a very low way compared to the assignments being given to them. Another challenges of fiscal federalism is the way and manner in which federal accounts are being managed and controlled, in which illegal and unconstitutional deduction within the
Ayoleke Toby now to come up and speak on parliamentary system of government. So you have 4 minutes.
Nicola Machiavelli said, and I quote, that I'm not interested in maintaining the status quo. I want to change it. Why should we continue to keep ourselves in the heat of the presidential system of government, where we can actually embrace the parliamentary system, which is the best option right now? Good day to the chairman of this symposium, the panel of judges, ACO timekeeper, co-debaters, and by extension to this optimistic audience of mine. Standing here before you is the physical appearance of Ayoleke Toby Mercy, and 400 level students of this prestigious university. I'm unequivocally supporting and acclaiming the motion. We state parliamentary system of government is better than the presidential system of government because of the benefits we start to gain in it. But before I dive into the ocean of my points, I'd like to define three terms, which are parliamentary system, presidential system, and the government. What is parliamentary system? Parliamentary system can be defined as the one in which the office of head of state is distinct from that head of government. For example, the Fourth Republic of Nigeria between 1963 to 1966, Nigeria operated parliamentary system of government, and Dr. Inan Azikiwe was the first president of Nigeria, while Tafawa Balewa was the prime minister at that time. We are talking about presidential system. Presidential system can be defined as the one in which the head of state of a country is also the head of government. It's a system in which all the executive power are vested in an individual with the title of the executive president. For example, the Second Republic of Nigeria between 1979 to 1983, President Shagari was both head of state and head of government, exercising all the executive power within the system. When we're talking about government, government can be defined as a machinery established by the state to organize the state, manage its affairs, and administer its functions and duty. It's a machinery through which the will of the state is formulated, expressed, and realized. Listen, my hearers. It is visible to the blind, audible to the deaf, and conspicuous to the people suffering from astigmatism that presidential system of government has allocated too much power to the executive president, and this has given him the opportunity to oppress and suppress the citizens without any confidence to challenge his authority. And that is a confirmation of what Lord Acton said. Lord Acton said, and I quote, that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I also care to tell you that presidential system of government is too costly for us to operate here in Nigeria. For instance, here in Nigeria, Nigeria has 45 ministers, and each of them collect 1.5 billion naira as salary and allowances for 4 years. I also care to tell you that Nigeria has 109 senators, and each of them collect 30.5 million naira as running costs per month, aside salary and allowances. Is that not too expensive? Ladies and gentlemen, it will be tantamount to the defense of mendacity with impunity for anyone to say that presidential system of government is worthy of continuity in this country, because it has been statistically reviewed by the National Bureau of Statistics that our growth rate has fallen to 3.2% 99%. I also want to tell you that Nigeria is drowning in the ocean of debt because it has been revealed by the National Bureau of Statistics that Nigeria now has over 60 trillion debt. My people, should we stay in that presidential system? That is the reason why I want us to embrace parliamentary system where there's no cost of operation in the administration. I want us to embrace parliamentary system of government where there is collective responsibility that helps in guiding against failure of any kind. Ladies and gentlemen, if we can embrace parliamentary system of government and eradicate corruption from our modus operandi and modus vivendi, I want to tell you, this country will do better. Thank you.
We have Ogumilade Sophia to come up now. Please be time conscious. We only have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. All protocols duly observed. My name is Oluwani Femi Sophie Ogumilade, and I'll be speaking on the benefits and downfalls of the presidential system of government and the parliamentary system of government. First things first, the presidential system of government is a system where the executive and the legislative arm of government are separate, but they hold equal rights. That is, one arm of government does not hold more power than the other. The parliamentary system of government, on the other hand, is a system of government where the executive arm derives its legitimacy from the legislative arm of government. I'll be speaking on the benefits and downfalls of this system of government. My first point is the clear line between authority and accountability. In the presidential system of government, we have the division of power, where the legislation creates laws, the executive, which is the president, executes the law, and the judiciary implements the law. These arms of government were created to check and balance themselves. But the play of the situation of things in the country so far has revealed that these arms of government do not check and balance themselves. The parliamentary system of government, on the other hand, has a close relationship between the executive and legislative arm, where there is a smooth passage of policies. My second point will be on the fixed term in the presidential system of government that enables stability during crisis. We all know that when presidents are being sworn into power, they serve 4 terms, and within those 4 terms, we are subjected to the economic decision making, and we also cannot re-elect until 4 years is over. On the parliamentary system of government, we ensure that people who are put into power are people who have been tested and trusted, people who are experienced and have the right knowledge to fit into their roles. This system of government can both be practiced in the country. The current system of government practiced in Nigeria is the presidential system of government, and we can see that the current system has defied all economic policies. And I put it to you that the parliamentary system of government is the best system of government to be practiced in Nigeria. Thank you.
So what I would suggest that is what I would suggest to ensure a good fiscal reform in Nigeria is to give the local government should get their revenue directly from the federal account and not from the state government, because of we have the horizontal ratio and the vertical formula. So when using the horizontal formula, the 3 tiers of government are involved. But when we are using the vertical, it's just from the state to the local government. So what I would suggest is the autonomy of the local government. Thank you.
to tell you that there are a lot of bodies that are embedded in the parliamentary system of government. Let me tell you, parliamentary system of government does not give respect to failure. Once a failure is recognized, vote of no confidence will be passed against the ruling government to vacate the post, and the party with the second highest vote will occupy the post. I also want to tell you that, do you know the reason why people said parliamentary system of government is less costly to operate? This is because ministers are drawn from the parliament, making ministers also members of the parliament. And when this is done, because of administration, will be drastically reduced. And I also want to tell you that there are a lot of big countries that are operating parliamentary system of government. Countries like Canada, New Zealand, Australia, United Kingdom are practicing it, and they are doing fine. I want to tell you that if we can eradicate corruption from our modus operandi and modus vivendi, parliamentary system of government will work best in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you that parliamentary system of government is the square peg in the square hole of this country. Thank you.
Hello. So while waiting for the result, we want to call on Mr. Abiri to come and give us the citation of the guest lecturer. Thank you.
That's
all protocol duly observed. All protocol duly observed with great honor, pleasure, and with great honor, pleasure, and I'm so sorry. With great honor and pleasure, I read to you the citation of Honorable Emmanuel Egbason. Pastor Emmanuel Egbason is a highly resourceful finance expert and seasoned management accountant whose experiences transcend the private and public sectors. He combines professional competence and high moral rectitude to deliver cutting-edge results in any assignment. Over the years, he has developed core competencies in strategic financial management, business engineering, tax advisory, financial review, and assurance services. Honorable Emmanuel Egbason holds a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting from Ondo State University, Ado-Ekiti, and a master's degree in business administration from Lagos State University. He equally holds a master's degree in accounting from Babcock University. Honorable Egbason belongs to more than 7 financial professional associations at the national and international levels. In his quest for deeper knowledge, he acquired executive certificate in economic development from the prestigious Harvard University. Honorable Emmanuel Egbason, an alumnus of the prestigious Harvard Kennedy School, was first appointed as the Honorable Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget in September 2017, and due to his meritorious service, he was reappointed in year 2021 by the then Akeredolu-led administration, where he employed his professional acumen to position Ondo State as the least multidimensionally poor state in the Federation in year 2022, and the best fiscal transparent state in year 2023 in various reports by reputable organizations. He was the pioneer Chairman of the Forum of Commissioners for Economic Planning and Budget in Nigeria, Honorable Emmanuel Ibason has acquired various national and international trainings and capacity building over the years, and he is at the forefront of several strategic committees and bodies in the state. As a multiple awards winner and executive council member of Ondo State Government, he was conferred with World Bank Certificate of Excellence and Ondo State Best Commissioner of the Year 2018. He was crowned the Ondo State's Personality of the Year at the Ondo State Media Award 2019, among others. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Pastor Honorable Emmanuel Ibason, a humble and quiet technocrat, certified development economist, a finance expert, a chartered independent director, and a philanthropist par excellence, a dutiful and loving family man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My own visitor. I don't know which one is working. Hello. Let me use this one. Okay, just put it there. All right. My honorable visitor, we have come a long way. And I thank you for the hallmark of excellence that you have done this teaching. As you heard from my citation, we are the father of this institution. You know, Osua in those days, we will trek through Odoeje. So no matter what you are saying now, it's a child's play compared to what we passed through. But the sky is your beginning. So, sir, let me adopt your well-established protocol, not without greeting the landlord, the Kabiyesi himself, the owner of the land. Kabiyesi. All right, let me also greet the head of the department and the dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences and all erudite professors here present. And let me use my own HOD, Dr. Oladutire, and the one that facilitated my membership to this constituency, Dr. Igbekoyi, to greet all lecturers. And then I will now come to my own immediate constituency. You know, the Spirit of God is one. I never knew we have a uniform, the same uniform. You know now that I'm compliant. Great Nigerian students. Great Nigerian students. The greater of the greatest of the greatest of the greatest of the greatest. You are carried. I mean, you know carried. All right, sirs, the topic that we are going to consider right away is fiscal reforms, fiscal policy reforms, and economic development in Ondo State. But let me say this. Let me also lend my voice to what our children has just debated. Let us put our hands together for all the debaters. That was wonderful. Beautiful. No system is bad and no system is good. There's no perfect system anywhere in the world. Let me say this. If we take all of us today to United States of America and bring all the people in America to Nigeria, within 2 years, America will become Nigeria and Nigeria will become America. Don't be deceived, my beloved. There is no country that is as blessed as Nigeria in the whole world. What we lack is in your song, character and integrity. And instead of having strong institutions, we have been building strong personalities who can suppress the institution. And we all look, we sit down, they look. But I think the time is running out. We'll begin to ask critical questions from all our leaders. Thank God the debater did not mention how much commissioner is receiving. He mentioned that of senator and the House of Assembly and all the rest. I know he didn't know how much I am receiving. All right. My salary is just 385,000 naira per month. Yes. Now, because of our time, I want to digress a little. It's not part of what you find there. But I have here a catalog of financial hemorrhage as espoused by Femi Falana in our nation. He says, number one, diversion of 40 billion from federation account. 40 billion naira. Number two, additional revenue of $1.5 billion payable to federation account was unaccounted for. Number three, he said we have an outstanding royalties from IOCs, international oil companies, of $62 billion. Not yet paid as we speak. And number four, he said federal government denied revenue of $500 million by a group of corrupt public officials. Go and read, it has about 18 to 19. In that instance, what do you think is wrong? And that is the nexus why we need to have fiscal policy reforms. What is fiscal policy? It is the system that ensures how revenue is aggregated and how it's expended in our nation. How we aggregate the quantum of revenue available to government to meet the socio-economic niche that is ever expanding. But we have limited resources. Now, fiscal policy is equally in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Right now, we operate the fiscal federalism between the three tiers of government, where we have 774 local government that is written inside the Constitution. But when you look at it deeply and disaggregate it, you will find out that it is both political, geographical, and economical that derives the sharing formula, where people use landmass even when there are no people there, where people use non-existent school enrollment, where people use non-existent health facilities, and so on and so forth. This is where we got it wrong. Therefore, over the years, the Nigerian government has tried to implement multiple fiscal policy reforms, right from the colonial era, where every region, every state does not contribute anything, you just manage your resources through our cabases. And those are the days of tribute. When you make your produce, you bring tribute to the cabases. That was all then. Then to the colonial era, where around 1954, where more than 50% of what you contribute belongs to you. It was adjusted severally. We went as low as 3% until we arrive at 30% derivation for host communities. Fiscal policy is essential for three things: to maintain equitable distribution of wealth in the nation, to ensure economic stability, and to also stimulate growth within the community. This is why we need fiscal policy. Nigeria, right from year 2004, embarked on various reforms as a nation, which includes the creation of the Bureau of Public Procurement, enactment of Petroleum Industrial Act, strengthening of Debt Management Office by creating the DMO, strengthening and mineral-based fiscal rule through the medium-term expenditure framework. We also have, which consists of the fiscal strategy paper, and because of the vagaries and the fluctuations in the monolithic economy of a product, which is the petrol, the government thought, let us create excess crude account, such that when we set the benchmark and we are lucky to sell above that, we will keep it for a rainy day or put it in a sovereign investment to create wealth for us and to ensure that we have stability. But the question is, to what purpose and to what extent? What happens to the $12 billion revenue windfall during Babangida era when Iraq invaded Kuwait? What has happened to this excess crude account? Today, when they go to Jack, you find it here, it is being shared every month. Are we still living to that policy reform? The answer is no. Yearly tax reforms through finance bill to ensure the efficient implementation of the yearly budget, because they do not want to go through the long route of policy or law amendment. So they bring out financial bill. Like I mentioned, fiscal policy is required for economic growth and stabilization. It is assumed that the more government spends, the more we should be able to stimulate growth and enable development. We need to set it straight. People use growth and development interchangeably. But Professor Obamoye, in his inaugural lecture 2018, put a distinction clearly between economic growth and development. Economic growth is just the increase or addition to the quantity of national products and services measured by GDP or GNI. Just increase. Quantitative increase. Numerical increase. But this increase, to what extent, to what purpose, how has it affected or impacted the people that lives in that nation? That is the nexus of economic development. And people said, okay, it cannot be only quantitative alone, but also qualitative. UNDP in 1990 came out with the Human Development Indicators, measuring three things: school completion rate, quality of life by the life expectancy rate, and also your income. How much are you able to generate? This will determine the quality of life that we use. In the recent rating of 2023 of UNDP, Nigeria tagged with Haiti at number 163rd out of 191 countries of the world. What has happened to all the fiscal policy reforms of this government? We'll get there. What are the tools for fiscal policy direction? The primary tools are taxes that government generate from individuals and corporate bodies, and aids and grants, and sometimes loans. Revenue in form of tax can be divided into two: direct tax and indirect tax. Direct tax is tax that is directed at the productive activity of individuals, whereas indirect tax, that's such as personal income tax or any other one, or direct assessment, as the case may be. But indirect tax, we have the VAT, we have the capital gains tax, and we have withholding tax and all others that taxes the activity but not the individual. These are the major ways through which government accumulates resources for deployment to the effective well-being of the citizens. Under that theory, you can have two scenarios: tax avoidance and tax evasion. Tax avoidance is where you organize your activities in such a way that you pay lower tax. You are paying, but you have organized your activities in such a way that you pay lower tax through tax planning or having a consultant or all the rest. But tax evasion entirely is that you are not paying anything. You are making money, but you are not paying anything. Whereas expenditure, which is the second leg, you find it there. I'll be rushing because of our time. You find the recurrent and the capital expenditure. Recurrent can be divided into two also: the personnel and the overhead. The personnel is what you pay the workers. The overhead is what you expend to keep the government running. Like I am a commissioner now. As I'm coming, I'm not expected to spend my salary if I'm going for official function. Now that I came on my own money. But if I were to go for official function, the government ought to fuel my car and be responsible for the maintenance and the stationaries and everything that will make my work conducive. These are the overheads. Now, why do we have fiscal reforms? Because of the disparity between the quantum of revenue available to us and the ever-expanding expenditure that government needs to bear. Why do we need fiscal reforms? To ensure that we optimize or expand the fiscal space to cater for all. We also ensure transparency and accountability. Those chronicle of financial hemorrhage as espoused by Femi Falana is possible because there is no probity, there is no accountability, and there is no transparency. And finally, to ensure that we have a credible and efficient tax system that encourages people not to avoid tax, but to be a partaker in their civic obligation. As much as you are asking government to do something, you also carry the dual responsibility or obligation to render your civic responsibility by contributing your tax to the general pool that will ensure a state of equilibrium and growth and development for our nation. So if you are not paying and you are criticizing the government, you are the enemy of yourself. Now, let me digress a little. If you look at the Constitution, there are about 56 different taxes and levies that can be assessed by the state government. The federal government just took the easy ones. Petroleum, and we left everything. What has happened to capital gains tax? Where you buy a land last year for 100,000 and next year you are selling it for 10 million naira. Where is your capital gains tax? When you inherit a property from your father and your mother that they built with 400,000 naira and you are now selling for 10 million naira, where is the capital gains tax? Those are the issues. Where is the withholding tax on your dividends? Where is the withholding tax on the rent you collect? For those of us, I know VC doesn't have house that is using rent. And KBC doesn't have. But if they have you ever paid withholding tax on rent to government? And we are saying that we have a dwindling resources. If you look at the budget of Nigeria, almost all the money that we will make will go into debt servicing. Which nation can ever progress is such an excruciating burden of debt overhang? None. We like to japa to America, to Canada. How many of you want to relocate to Canada? Okay, we won't. They want to run away. You better stay. You know, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be, now and forevermore. In the days of Isaac, there was famine in the land, and everybody was japping. And what was the verdict of God for Isaac? He says, stay in the land, and I will bless you. Stay in the land. Let me tell you this secret, my beloved. Where you find crises and problems, there you find great opportunities. The opportunities of this world are wrapped in challenges that you need to overcome, in services that you need to provide. Those places you are going to, you work for 8 hours, you can only pay your bills. You need 4 to 6 extra hours to be able to save maybe $1,000 in a month. If you cultivate your tomato here with the modern technology, meet your professor of agronomy or agriculture. Let them show you how they grow tomato without soil, using water solution. Grow green pepper. In a month, you make more than 5 million naira. In a month. And it's a hot demand. So, don't put it at the back of your mind that Nigeria is bad, Nigeria is this, I'm going to Japa. Look at what you can do within the crisis period. Find a problem to solve, then you are in money. You are not to carry your certificate and begin to beg to apply. All right, where are we? Fiscal reforms. Fiscal reforms in Ondo State. I'm bringing it down to Ondo State now. But before I go to Ondo State, let me also say this. There have been different growth models from the neoclassical era to the Solos growth model, where they use the neoclassical uses the factors of production, man, material. That is what the term of it is what will stimulate economic development. Solo says no, there's technological progress that is done. But I therefore you that there's a new model developed by Professor Hosman of Harvard University. And he called it technical know-how. He made a comparison of the per capita income of the most prosperous cities in America and the worst city, which was Haiti as at then, that we are now pairing with Nigeria at 163 level of human development indicator. And he discovered something something is different. It cannot be main material and the raw asset alone that is responsible for the phenomenal growth and development witnessed by neighbors that are almost are identical in geographical location and even in their political composition. That there must be something different. And he look at this something different and he call it technical know-how. And this is how we explain this technical know-how. That is, there are three forms of knowledge. The codified knowledge, the tools knowledge, you can take a spanner and begin to open this change. But you need a specialized knowledge to decode the formula to run the computer. Then there is a better one that is called tacit knowledge that resides in the brain of man in small quantities. And that it was this tacit knowledge that is responsible for the phenomenal growth and development witnessed in developed nations. The sad story is this. What's the name of this richest man in the world? Bill Gates came to Nigeria about 6 years ago. He showed us in Asurok the brain of a fully developed 5-year-old and the brain of a stunted 5-year-old. And the sad verdict is that more than 80% of our children are malnourished. And once that brain is formed before 5 years, they can never attain to their potentials in life. This tacit knowledge is not something you learn, it's something you just know in bit. And that is the basis behind the Boeing 737 that you are seeing. Those people that manufactures the engine are different. The people that manufactures the AC, they are different. That is the only thing they do. The people that manufactures the leather, that's in different countries, far away from each other. That's the only thing they do. And this is what is lacking in Nigeria. All of us have stopped at the level of that, what do I call it now? Professional knowledge, without employing our tacit knowledge or technical know-how. There's no formula that you can bring because the concept of development connotes the transition from a basic society to a more complex one through industrialization and economic complexities. Whereas Saudi Arabia here is constructing a tunnel through the sea to connect. Is it to Egypt that they are going to? Have people forgotten the country they are going to? To go there and ensure that you get there within 4 hours. A journey of ordinarily 12 to 16 hours. You go there within 4 hours. They also put side by side another tunnel that will supply those countries petrol. And they put another tunnel that will bring them clean water. Nigeria is still grappling with how to grow tomato and vegetable in 21st century. This is a call for concern. Fiscal reforms in Ondo State, at the inception of the administration of late Akeredolu, SANCON, he took the bull by the horn and signed into law 5 public financial management laws that will ensure transparency, probity, and accountability. And these laws consist of Fiscal Responsibility Law of 2017, which stipulates that a state within 4 months of its inauguration must develop at least 21 years development plan. It also stipulates that you can no longer prepare the budget anyhow, because the resources you have been called to manage, you are just an agent, you are not the owner. The true owner of the collective patrimony are the people. And in making choices and decisions, you must carry these people along. Citizens' engagement in budget. And that is why we have been calling to Kabiyesi Alale for the past years, to seek their input, to explain to them where we want to deploy our collective patrimony. We also have the Public Financial Management Law stipulating the levels of authority, who has the custody, how should the finances of the government should be kept and managed. We have the audit law that establishes an independent audit commission that protects the Auditor General of the state to point out weaknesses and inefficiencies in our public financial management and protect them. There was a case where the late Akete wanted to effect changes and he removed the Auditor General, who is still here now. Adegoke, I said, okay, you can't do this to you. The law does not permit you to remove him. He has now come to stay. And if you look at the social media of recent, you see the audit report generating ripples in our society. That is the beauty of that law. Many governments in the subnational is still shying away from signing this one into law. But you know, in those states, Akete signed it into law. You also have procurement law that ensure the streamlining of contractors and vendors of the state, and make sure that, that they have the financial and technical competence to engage or to embark on the contract they want to implement. They do background check and they do benchmark prices such that to ensure that contract inflation is eradicated and thereby free money to stimulate economic development. We have a financial regulation of Ondo State, which is also similar to public financial management law. Is an offshoot of that public financial management law, stipulating the levels of authority, the approval limit of every sphere of everybody. For example, the governor cannot unilaterally sign any contract above 20 million naira without going to the ESCO. No commissioner can sign any contract that is above 1 million naira without getting governor's approval. No permanent secretary can sign any contract that is above 750,000 naira without going through the ministerial tender spot. Those are the provisions to ensure. But when you look at the reforms in Ondo State, it is widely broken into two. You have the regulatory and you have the institutional reform. I said it earlier. There is no reform or policy that can be better than the implementers or the institution that sustains and drives it. There's none. So the first thing we did was to create an autonomous Board of Internal Revenue Service and populate it with people with requisite skills and competencies. The first thing, we engaged about 500 staffs. Majority of them are chartered accountants and technologically proficient. So many of you that are 400 level, you don't know how to use your computer. Better go and register in computer school. You are left behind. Nobody will engage you. Nobody. So, not only that, we created a conducive work environment for them. There's a work environment that promotes corruption. Abisa, but the office, When you are in the office from morning to night and you are sweating like Christmas goat, you want to go home and have a peaceful sleep and you don't have money to buy generator. If you see money that you can corner in your office, won't you corner it? That's the bane of Nigeria. The incentives for corruption is so rife in our society. And the simple solution is this: there's no nation that would develop on a cash basis. You want to buy this shoe, you have to pay 100%. You want to buy a car, you have to pay 500%. The countries you are running to, they want to buy ordinary iPhone. They can buy it and pay for 5 years with insurance. This is what we need to create wealth, to create the systems that function, that discourages corruption. You need to pay for your children's school fees. And your salary, my salary is $385. Supposing I have children in Harvard. And dollar is 2,000 naira, 1,008. Won't I steal? Answer me. So, we must deal with corruption enablers, which is rampant in our environment. Their salary was increased. We separated them from the civil service. They have their own salary. We gave them cost of collection, which they have to manage by themselves. They engage a consultant that will go after tax evaders. And at the end of this lecture, you see the tremendous improvement in the revenue generation capacity of Ondo State. You have the Public Accounts Committee of Ondo State House of Assembly. That is also an autonomous committee that is saddled with the responsibility to call and question anyone, any ministry or any agent or any principal actor concerning state finances. They have their own budget line and they are free to walk into any office at any time to strengthen the system. And let me say this. When you talk about parliamentary and the federal system of a government, what you are saying in parliamentary is that you crumble the executive arm. And the legislators alone will appoint or elect one of them by simple majority who will be the head of government as the prime minister. Now, let us put it to test. If we were to do that among the 360 members of House of Assembly in Nigeria, which region do you think we have it back to back? That is it. That is the beauty of federal system of government, bringing governance closer to the people to make you to participate. So if you are not asking the relevant questions from your leaders, it is never the fault of those that design the system, but our collective negligence. In federal system of government, we are operating a dual ideology. That is our problem. When we copy, we never copy correctly. We will copy the matric number of another person. The Lord will help us. So let's go on. Ondo State Fiscal Responsibility Law, I've explained it. Public Financial Management, you will find it there. Let's go to the result. Between 2015 and 2017, the average revenue generated by Ondo State Internal Revenue Service averaged between 700 to 800 million per month. But when these reforms begin to diffuse in the system, you find the results from 2018. Go to Ondo State Internal Revenue Service. After the tax reform, go back. Yes, sir. Move forward. Again. This is it. This is actual result. It's not conjectures. This is what Ondo State made in 2015. The budget was 15, they made 10. 2016 was 12 billion, they made 8 billion. In 2017, we budgeted 14, they made 10 billion. Now, when we sat, we said there's need for fiscal reforms. And we ensure that those reforms were done, and by 2019, it began to materialize. By 2020, Ondo State won the award as the most improved internally generated revenue in the whole of the Federation. And that is the result. And we are still going higher. But beyond the ovation, let us dig deep a little into the potentials of Ondo State. If you look at Export Promotion Council, it raised Ondo State as the number 5 largest economy among the subnationals in Nigeria. World Bank ranks us as number 4, whereas Budget and some other agents ranks us as number 7. What was our total GDP as at then, as at that ranking, which was conducted between 2020 and 2021? The GDP of Ondo State was 5.10 trillion naira per year. That of Ogun State was 5.03 trillion per year. Now extrapolate the highest amount we have generated to our potential to generate the required fund necessary for development. And you know that we are not there yet. If you please, if you find the percentage of the highest, which is 40 billion, over 5.10 trillion, let a mathematician give me the percentage. By the time I did this, sometimes ago it was 0.003%. That was to show that we have not scratched the surface. And we are still going higher. This year we are going to increase their target to between 50. There's nothing that stops Ondo State from generating up to 80 billion from our productive activities, if well managed. And that is the nexus of fiscal policy reforms. One thing that I've explained, that of Bureau of Public Procurement and the budget process, that has to be bottom-up approach rather than top-down approach, and that will have citizens engagement. But one of the beautiful provisions of the Fiscal Responsibility Law of 2017, as signed by Mr. Governor, was that you need to prepare your budget on the medium-term expenditure framework, aggregating, estimating the quantum of resource flow within 3-year horizon, taking the quick wins and rolling over into next year by adjusting it yearly. Not only that, before you arrive at the medium-term expenditure framework, you need to use statistical and forecasting tools to arrive at the figure. It's not something you just scratch your head and arrive at. Such that you have a accurate figure of the quantum of resources that will be available to you, and show clearly where you are going to deploy these resources. Not only that, you're going to show us the strategy you want to put in place to actualize these objectives. Not only that, you are going to show us the medium-term sector strategy, sector by sector, how you are going to improve on the fiscal space there. And you find it there under budget reforms. You find the components of NTF, which I've explained. You have the economic financial update, which looks at the macroeconomic dynamics that is prevalent at that time, and how it affects the possibility and capacity to actualize your objective, and then try to mitigate it as much as possible. You also have the fiscal strategy paper that shows clearly the strategy you are going to employ to achieve your objective. The budget policy statement is the objective, the particular objective you want that budget of that year to achieve in the society. For example, in 2017, when we came on board, we inherited a demoralized works environment where people were owed salaries of up to 7 months, unable to pay their bills, send their children to school, or afford 3 p.m. meal. And we needed to prioritize the payment of these salaries as an economic enabler that once the salary earners get this money, the pepper seller will sell, the hairdresser will be patronized, the fashion designers will be patronized, school proprietors will get their school fees, and the economy will be stimulated. And that was what we did through 2017 to 18 to 19, until those salaries were cleared, and we have enviable results to show for that. What are the measurements of economic development? I've mentioned 3. I will not go back to it. That let us use that of UNDP that use 3 proxies: the quality of life as measured by life expectancy rate, and nutrition, the quality of food that you eat. Is it Gary in the morning, Gary in the afternoon, and Gary at night? You are poor. So you better cry to God to change your menu. Abi, how many of you drank Gary this morning? Ha! All right. You know, there is Gary and there is Gary. Like I'm sweating now, I can go back home and drink Gary, but with a full plate of beans. It's a balanced diet. With a leg of turkey, it's a balanced diet. But if you know to soak it and let it come up before you eat it, it's an evidence of prosperity. What are the impacts of fiscal reforms on economic development in Ondo State, as measured by credible national and international organizations? You find it there. We have earned. You find the table. Go to that next table. You find the, yes, this is the exact table. It's lifted as it is. Ondo State by the research conducted by National Bureau of Statistics in collaboration of UNICEF and UNDP conducted a poverty mapping of states or subnationals in Nigeria. From the report, Ondo State came first as the least multidimensionally poor state in Nigeria. That is one. If you go further, you find other ones. From that table, you find out that our GDP, gross domestic product, the quantity now, not the quality, so to say, is increasing. And if it's increasing, then that means our life quality is also increasing. You find it that we have grown our GDP marginally. From our per capita income has moved to about $6,000 annually. The next one, please. There's less friction between government and the citizens. That is the result of openness and transparency of the fiscal reforms with it. Monthly, the Nigeria Labour Congress, the executive and the judiciary, they sit down to look at the resource inflow for that month and decide together which area to prioritize and how much to go to each area. And that is why you have never found any labor unrest throughout the 7 years of administration of Akeredolu. And we're going to continue in that same trajectory. And by the time we take the budget round the states, at least through the 9 federal constituencies of the state, we x-ray what government has done in that area, what government is going to do, and what government intends to deploy your resources to do in the coming years. I will also mind your minds. What are your priorities? I will put it in the budget and say, Mr. Governor, this is report of our citizens' engagement. This is their priority. in this area, because sometimes it is not what you think that the people need that they actually need. Let's move forward. National recognitions. You find it there. Ondo tops federal government's fiscal transparency rating and gets World Bank grant. You find the Center for Transparency ranks Ondo's third best in transparency in public fund management. You also find budget ranked Ondo State second in the State of Fiscal Transparency and Accountability ranking of Q1 of 2023. Finally, those are the little gains. The impact of continuous fiscal reform on economic development cannot be overemphasized. For any society to optimize our potentials and work processes, and in particular the fiscal management process, it must be in a constant state of flux to adapt to ever-changing development challenges. The challenges that are facing our nation today is food insecurity, and is also life insecurity. Those have interwoven and eroded most of the gains that we have made. And this is where you come in. Security is a collective responsibility. Likewise, development is a collective responsibility. Do your bit, I do my bit, and Nigeria will progress. Thank you for listening.
Let's celebrate him. Let's celebrate him. Let's celebrate him. I believe we enjoy the lecture. Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate that. The next one is we'll be inviting our discussant, who is a former executive chairman of Akoko Northwest Local Government, in person of Honorable Akonde, FCA. I will invite Ms. B.C. Fashesin to come and take the citation while the Honorable come forward. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon once again, everyone. Permit me to maintain the status quo by standing on the existing protocol this afternoon. Reading the citation of Honorable Ayodele Samson Akonde FCA. Honorable Ayodele Samson Akonde FCA was born 6 decades ago to the family of Akonde in Okeagbe Akoko Northwest Local Government area of Ondo State. He attended St. George's Anglican Primary School, Okeagbe Akoko, for his elementary education, after which he gained admission to Omu Comprehensive High School, Omu Ekiti, where he sat for the West African Examination Council and came out in flying colors. He proceeded to Federal College of Education Technical, Akoka, Yaba, Lagos, to qualify for his National Certificate in Technical Education in Accounting in 1987. For his quest for more education, he proceeded to University of Lagos, where he bagged a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in 1994 and Master's degree in Public Administration MPA in 2006. The quintessential accountant and tax consultant of repute has many professional certificates to his credit, like Associate Chartered Accountant ACA, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria ICANN, Chartered Institute of Taxation CITN. He is a fellow of both Chartered Institute of Taxation FCIT and Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria FCA. Elder Ayodele Samson Akande FCA worked with Olushola Adekola and Co., firm of chartered accountants, auditing and tax management, Kunle Ladejobi and Co., firm of auditors, corporate financial and tax management of advisory services, Walema Enterprises Nigeria Limited, Yaba College of Technology, School of Part-Time Studies. As a part-time lecturer, he served and is still serving as a member of many ICANN committees. On the political career, he has rendered services and displayed his leadership potentials within his immediate communities from his student days. He had served in various capacities in the Students' Union and also in Girls' Vineyard. He was appointed to represent and serve his communities at Akoko Northwest Local Government Council, Okeagbe Akoko, as interim chairman committee and later elected as the executive chairman of the Akoko Northwest Local Government, Okeagbe Akoko, in August 2020. He had attended various seminars, conferences, and workshops within and outside the country. His hobbies include golfing, reading, traveling, music, and giving to the less privileged in the society. He is married to his beautiful wife, Dickiness Mopelola Akande, and the marriage is blessed with God-fearing children. For his contribution to mankind and his chosen career, the Focus Hall of Fame has considered him worthy of recognition and is honored with the Icon of Politics 2023. Join me once again in welcoming Honorable Ayodele Samson Akande as today's discussant for the public lecture. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Vice Chancellor, the guest paper presenter, at this junction, I want to stand on the existing protocol. But before that, I want to greet the students' body for your patience and at the same time show interest in the well-researched paper as were given by the guest lecturer. At this particular point in time, I want to thank the Department of Economics, ably led by the OSHOG and support by the Dean. I appreciate you for counting me worthy to be here this evening. Now, my job has been done excellently well by the guest lecturer because he has dealt seriously with the main topic, that is fiscal reforms and economic development in Ondo State. It did not only stop at Ondo State, even coming from the federal, using the whole world as a global, and coming to the state. But where I want to add little flesh to it, it has done very much at the state level, and at the same time, because of my privileged position, I work both in the private sector and few in government, but now at the grassroots level, that is the third tier of government, which is the local government. At the same time, I want to really appreciate the debaters, particularly the student that spoke very much on the revenue sharing formula by the three tiers of government, the federal, the state, and the local government, both the vertical and the horizontal basis of revenue sharing formula. And these are some of the challenges or basis that we are having, the problem we are having in the country as of today, that we are trying to say, let us reform, let us reform. And so many reforms agenda have been coming from time immemorial. Another additional definition that I want to give to the reform, which is very, very simple,
is that the use of government spending and taxation to influence the economic development of the country. That is the little summary, simple summary of reforms. That is, we believe that we have some challenges, we have some problems. What we have been doing before, let us change our style of doing things. You could see me now today, ordinarily, at that picture where they show me, I was wearing tie and jacket. And I said, today, let me change my system. I should not be wearing tie and jacket all the time because I belong to the grassroots sector. I have to reform myself. My mode of dress has to change. My taste has to change. And that's part of the problem we're having, challenge that we're having. We want to keep doing what we've been doing time memorial, whether it befits us or not. And that was why the debater said at that time, parliamentary system or presidential system, which way forward. From time to time, we need to examine ourselves individually, as a community, university. We need to examine what we have been doing. Where are we going to? And that was why the guest lecturer said the other time, we need to challenge ourselves. The certificate that we are holding as a degree holder, first degree, second degree, or third degree, is it not just an ordinary paper? What are you going to do with that degree? Reform. Let us reform ourselves. And that's where we are now. And the little discussion or observation or addition I want to have to this paper is not going to take us more than 5 minutes. And that's where we are. That is to take my discussion to how fiscal reforms will affect the local government so that our local government will develop. And that's where we have majority of the people. What are the various reforms that are put in place to ensure that our local government develops and we have economic development? That is where we want to discuss briefly about the paper that paper presenter has presented. I've given us the definition of fiscal policy, that is the use of government spending and taxation to influence the economy. That is all about reforms. And now, why fiscal policy? Why are we doing fiscal policy? It has been defined by us by the paper presenter. It is required for economic growth and stabilization. All this one have been said earlier on. Then tools of fiscal policy, the tools what we need to bring about development, that is revenue and expenditure. The judicial use of revenue and expenditure. Now, where we are going is that fiscal reforms concerning the local government and revenue sharing basis and formula in Ondo State. Now, for the local government, a few years back, we discovered that local governments are not being paid. They were owed salary for about over 12 months during the period of our late governor, Babadi Farati. Why? Because some local governments can pay their salaries very well, some cannot pay. In the 18 local governments that we have in Ondo State, we have about 5 or 6 major local governments that even if the amount will be going to them monthly, they cannot, that salary is not enough to pay salary, not talk of doing other things. And that was why then the president, Obasanjo then, decided that, okay, let the local government be putting their resources together in a basket. And that was why this body was created, that is called JAC, Joint Account Allocation Committee. Let's put all the money together there. Then, first and foremost, let us remove the salaries and wages of workers. The rest cannot be shared. Since then, the money of local government has been going to a central account. And every month, when the Commissioner of Finance will come back from Abuja from FRAC, they will now sit down together, headed by the Commissioner for Shifters and Local Government. The chairman of local government will be there, and the representatives of each ministry will be there, labor will be there, to decide on how to distribute the fund. But this one, to after practicing it for some time, we discovered that at the grassroots level, local government level, we don't have enough money or not enough mandate to carry out the constitutional provisions at the grassroots level. Another issue that we have here is that we said for the reforms after this money has been the JAC account, we discovered that some of the money meant for each local government are not going down well to the proper channel. The government of President Buhari now introduced another policy to introduce what is called Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU. That's going forward. The money of each local government should do what? Should be credited to each local government account. That is, a state government should not have power to do what? To use this fund directly. So that by the time the money goes directly to the account of the local government, yes, the money will be used accordingly to where it belongs. But lo and behold, is that what is being practiced? No. Because as they said the other time, the presidential system of government, as the president has much power, they told the state governors has executive power. They can do and undo. And that is part of the reason why we're here today, that the local governments, they don't have the 100% mandate to carry out their programs. And part of the provision of NFIU is that by the time this money comes together to the local government account, now the local government will be able to spend this money to the various sectors of the local government. Is it road, farm road? Is it markets? Is it primary schools? But this is not being so. Now, another reform that took place within the local government is that the World Bank restructured the local government accounts by trying to introduce what we call valuation of accounts must be in line with NFIU, and at the same time, the issue of IPSAS and international financial reporting. IPSAS means International Public Account Standards. What does it mean? That one, the way that public account is being prepared in the past, on cash basis, year by year, at the end of the year, they will write off all the expenses and expenditure of government. They will not assume that we have a leftover. Then the introduction of IPSAS has to say, okay, let us introduce what is called accrual basis. Meaning that, okay, let us assume that certain expenses or revenue that are not coming, we have to make provision for them. That is accrual. That the money that we have not realized, we put into the account. And the essence of this is to be able to bring into the same platform the account being prepared by the public sector and the account being prepared by the private sector, so that the issue of PPP, public-private sector participation in governance, will be enhanced. That was part of the reform introduced by World Bank. Some of these reforms have been mentioned by guest speaker by saying that, one, the engagement of Auditor General of the state and the local government, they should be independent, no interference. Because of what? So that there can be transparency, probity, and accountability. So the government is doing all this in order to, what I would say, reform and development, to be able to bring about developments into the state and to the local government. And thank God the government of Ondo State, for the past 6-7 years, they've been trying to keep to these various reforms so that life will be better for all of us. Not only that, timely preparation of audited reports and access to international funds, grants. These are some of the benefits that these reforms that happens in the state and the local government is bringing to the state. But the only challenge, the only problem we have is that how can all these things trickle down to the local government? That, in the sense that you and me, that we are in the local government, we can be benefiting from all these reforms. Now, the debater, Elijah, stated the revenue sharing formula to all of us at that time. As at now, federal government takes 52.68% monthly from the federal revenue, and state earns 26.72%, whereas local government 20.6%. That is vertical. Either you like it or not, that is the formula I was given. But we have other basis, which is called vertical. That is, they consider the horizontal aspect. They consider it as equity, maybe 20% across board, across the 36 states and 774 local governments. Then population, the population size of each state or local government will be considered in sharing the revenue. Another yardstick is land mass. We have a state in this country, Nigeria, that is 5 times the size of Ondo State or any other state. A state like Niger, the land mass there is very, very much. You can transfer the length and breadth of Niger State in 5 hours. While in some other states like Ebonyi or Osun State, within few hours, you transfer it. So they consider it an IGR generation, IGR. Like our guest earlier said at that time, that the IGR of Ondo State for the past 7 years have been increasing in a very good dimension from about 700 to 800 million per month to now about 40 million per month, which is still increasing. Unlike the revenue of some other states like Lagos State. Lagos State, as at now, they are generating about 1.5 billion per month. And they are still going further. So, social development, hospital-based, permanent schools, markets, and some other government institutions. These are some of the bases they are using to share revenue of the local government. So therefore, at this junction, I want to share my personal experience as a former local government chairman. This is personal. Number one, I want to commend the efforts of our Honorable Commissioner for Budget. Since he came, and when I was in the council, yearly they will come. We will invite market women. We invite all the interest groups, barbers, hairdressers, mechanics, traditional rulers to council to come and listen. What do you want government to do for you in the coming year? Come and harvest. Come and tell us what you want government to do for you. And year by year, they are doing this. At the end of the day, we now discover that in my local government, we have less friction. We have what is government doing for us. And they just come and build market for us. We needed a hall. We needed town hall. And we needed borehole. But the government has been doing that to do what? Harvest or inputs into the budget. They've been doing that, which I believe if they continue with that, we are going to have more developments in the near future. Another experience that I have in the local government is that on a monthly basis, when the money allocation comes through JAG, from FAC to JAG, we now see that how much is left for each member of the council to use to do projects. Nothing. More or less nothing. And people will be saying that go to council, go to council. And the council is the closest government to the people. The local government is the closest to the people. Before somebody can leave Akungba to Akure now, the council or Oka to Akure, the person must have gotten tired before he gets to Akure. Whereas the people in the state, they are there doing their things, which we are saying that before these reforms, all these reforms that have been highlighted by the federal government, by the state, before this reform can really bring about real development, they have to trickle down to the local government. They have to trickle down to the local government. And at the same time, the issue of security. Yes, security is not only in terms of weapons, it's not only in terms of military personnel. What we are having now is food insecurity, power insecurity, water insecurity. What do we do? What are we going to do to improve on this? And that is part of what we are saying about these reforms. I wish I believe the paper before me have considered some of these things. And we are now at the verge of taking advantage of so many reforms that have been set. The issue of tax, yes, at the local government level, we currently have revenue or taxes collectible by the child of government. Good enough, between the local government and the state, we have a relationship. We have an understanding between the Board of Internal Revenue and the local government. And the relationship is that some of the areas in which we cannot, the local government cannot perform, through the help of the state internal revenue, we have the relationship, particularly the issue of Land Use Act, Land Use Levy. The state Board of Internal Revenue is helping the local government to do what? To collect it. At the end of the day, they will now share it at an agreed percentage. So therefore, my experience at local government level is that we are still believing, we are still hoping that when this autonomy comes, it's going to help us a lot. And at the same time, the students and everybody will benefit more from it. And this junction, I want to stop here and sincerely thank you for the rapt attention that has been given to me. Thank you very much.
Let's jam our hands together to appreciate him. Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful lecture. Now, because of our time, so that those who came from far can return home as fast as possible, we want to invite our Professor Adebayo Fatukasi, to come and handle the questions and answer. The question and answer. Please, I invite Professor Fatukasi.
I'm standing on the existing protocol to say good afternoon to everybody here present. Without wasting much of our time, especially the 400 level students who are here, I earlier told you before now that the moment you get to 400 level or about graduating, we see you as a potential colleagues, isn't it? I said that to you in the development economics class. Now you have listened to the topic of the day. We are going to welcome 5 questions because of our time. The Honorable Commissioner will have to go back to Akure very shortly. Kabiyesi is here seated. We don't want to waste time any longer. 5 questions and 5 reasonable questions. And you know what I mean. Student of development economics. Number 1, and we welcome questions from our experts here. The bossa is here, auditor is here, and our HODs of various departments. So, who is okay? Please listen to the bossa, people's bossa of the university.
Well, I want to. To run government entities. The thing that is in vogue is that you don't have to look for skill. You don't hire for skill in the public financial management environment. Because if you get the best brain that do not have characters, they will ruin your organization. And that is why the recommendation is that hire for character, train for skill. So I believe that we should be thinking about how to hire for characters, and then we can begin to train for skill. So that's the perspective I want us to examine the topic. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Do I allow you to respond immediately? Yeah. Okay. So,
good afternoon, sir. Agbola from Adult Education. In my own opinion and line of thinking, I do not think fiscal or economic reform should be what comes first. Because I think political reforms will automatically take care of economic reform. Now look at the local government, it's a shadow of itself. Those days, the local government generates their revenue. They give state what belongs to the states and give to the federal what belongs to the federal. But now, the local government is just a shadow of itself. People are just going there relaxing and doing nothing. Each local government has the capacity and the potential to generate their own revenue, to take care of themselves. But now, the state government are the one dictating what happens in the local government. I think what we need is not fiscal or economic reform. What we need is political reform. Let each autonomous unit generate their own revenue, give what is appropriate to the state and to the federal government before we talk about coming to economic reform. I do not subscribe to the idea that the state should be the one dishing out. When people go to the federal, they see it as national cake. They take it and they just embezzle the money. But if you come to this place and you embezzle our money in the local government, we care ourselves because we know ourselves. But at federal level, you learn about the minister that steal how many billions within a month. So, sir, my line of thinking is that why not political reform first before you talk about fiscal quality and economic reform?
Our students, question? Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, you said about that a government should have 21 years plan. But how do you ensure this is sustainable? Because when a different government come in, they come up with different agenda. Some governments come in, like when Buhari came on board, he started with a zero budgeting system. That means to show that all the existing plans that have been considered, he did not consider it started. So how do you ensure that? That's one. And secondly, we have a lot of taxes that we pay for and which are not accountable, especially like an average market woman paying like more than 5 taxes. And what are they paying this for? And it's not even, there's no accountability for that. So can't the government provide an avenue of taxes where you can pay your tax online rather than people collecting it? People that they don't even, they are paying for tax that they don't even know the worth, or they don't get reward for what they are paying. Thank you, sir.
Before we proceed, we have 3 questions on ground. The first one from Mr. Arena, the bursar of the university, is anchored on attitudinal change. We mentioned this in the class. It's one thing to see any reform, to have excellent reform. It's another thing to implement this. From Mr. Agbola, Adult Education, is talking about having political reform before we think about that. Is his own personal opinion. Justice will be done to that question. And Jerita Muhammad is talking of avenue to pay tax online and talking of 21-year planning. Is doubting this continuity. You know, things are really changing with new government. I want to call on the Honorable Commissioner for the first 3. So we have 2 left.
Thank you, sir. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let me thank you for these questions. It shows that I have not spoken to the air. All of us have listened attentively. Instead of fiscal reforms, can we have physical reforms? Incidentally, I said this in the office of the VC in my opening remarks, that before you get your certificate, 2 things are paramount. That you have been found worthy in character and in learning before you be awarded that certificate. And the absence of one erodes the other. So I do not have any apology to say that that Omoluabi ethos that we were known for has been eroded. So what do? We now have vice as virtue, and virtue as vice, where a Yahoo boy is celebrated and a thief has become a chief. What should we do as a people? Number 1 is open governance. I've said it during my lecture, that there is no perfect system anywhere. What you have in America, in Canada, in Europe, in Germany, and all the rest is because they discourage fraud and fraudulent activities. That is why it's not as if they are angels. They are not. In fact, they are more wicked than the blacks. That's the truth. They are more wicked than the blacks, but they have a strong institution that drives accountability and probity and sustains it. So what do we need to do? Some of the things they have done is this, which I've mentioned. Number one, we need to have a credible database. You don't know what you have. How do you know what is missing? You need to have a credible database, which I call data for development. In that place, they have social, what do they call it? Social scheme where they cater for the poor. But they have a social security number that once you take something here in Akuba, you cannot take in Uderele, which is my state, which is my small London. But here, somebody will take from economics department, and accounting department doesn't know what he has done here. That is the reforms we need to do. And number two, which I also mentioned in passing, is that we must eliminate corruption enablers. Any state, any nation that drives or thrives on cash basis is going nowhere. You want to buy a car, you want to rent a house, you want to build a house, you have to pay 100%. Would you find a means of helping yourself? But in those places you are going to, there is a credible credit system that sustains the environment. You want to buy a phone of 1 million naira, you pay 50,000, and you start enjoying it. The rest of the money, maybe you have 250, you can still also buy a car and have a good quality life. You want to rent a house, you have a credible mortgage system. These are the things we need to do, not the fiscal. There's no amount of fiscal responsibility or reforms that you can do unless you remove the corruption, enablers, and incentives. The propensity to be corrupt is all around us. You want to, I'm coming here now, I have to call with two security men. I'm not going to pay them. I will allow them to kidnap me and call my wife. Where's the security? Those are the things we need to put mind. And finally, we also need to do open governance. From time being, permit me to tell you that one of the fiscal responsibility law enforces us to publish on quarterly, biannual, and annual basis how you have expended the state's money. But I dare say, many of us have never seen that report once, despite the fact that it's online from 2017. Every quarter, I publish what the government has done in Ondo State. Every biannual, I publish it. Every annual, like the one in 2023, annual report is online. Go on Google, www.ondobudget.gov. You find it there. We need to know what our government is doing and ask critical questions. That's all. Open governance. The number two question, political reforms should take care of physical reforms. You are driving us back to the argument of parliamentary or unitary or anything. Okay? If you plant bitter leaf tree and sugarcane tree the same time in the same place and put the same amount of water and expose them to the same type of sunlight, bitter leaf will still become, and sugarcane will be what is responsible? Something inside. That is the character. There's nothing you can do unless we bring back those Omoluabi ethos. If you bring a thief caption machine in Nigeria, somebody made a joke about it, but the next day they brought it. It has worked in America, worked everywhere. When they brought it to Nigeria, the next day the machine disappeared. 21-year development plan. there is a legal provision that will ensure sustainability. Like now, we are even running, I think, 30 years. Because it's a creation of the law, after it has been done, it will go back to the legislature for legislative backing. And everybody, every government, it's not about the government in power. We need to go through it. How do we want to have a sustainable urban development area? What is the strategic provision for our agricultural development and value chain? What are we going to do in blue economy? What are we going to do in digital economy? They are all spelled out there. And by March, we'll be launching that 30-year development plan. And irrespective of the government account, because it has a legal framework and legal backing, they have to derive their manifestos from it, as it is happening in Lagos and in Kaduna State. Multiple taxation. We have automated, we have a universal revenue law. And apart from what they take from local government, we have not gone there. One of the provisions of the fiscal responsibility law also is to create a joint planning board with the local government where we will extract their potentials and put in place mechanisms to harness these potentials for the development of our people. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a day, and gradually we will get there. Thank you.
Thank you. We shall now welcome 2 questions more. Mr. Agbede and Toby, come forward.
Oh, good evening, sir. Well, we know that people have been meticulously asking how different parts of the country that should we reject presidential system and embrace parliamentary system? And I discovered that little has been said about it. And I want, because I believe people are watching us, I want them to tap from the wealth of the political enigmas we have here in this symposium. Oh, thank you. So I want them to tap from the wealth of the knowledge of all the political enigma we have in this symposium. Sir, when I try to juxtapose presidential system and parliamentary system, I discovered that in presidential system, there is check and balances between the executive, judicial, and legislative. If we embrace parliamentary system, how can that be enhanced? Because I know in presidential system, there is individualistic responsibility, while in parliamentary system, there is collective responsibility. That is 1. 2. I remember Professor David said there should be equality and supremacy of law over all the citizens in a country without an exception. In presidential system, there is supremacy of constitution, while in parliamentary system, there is parliamentary supremacy. And I feel that constitution should be, superior over all activities in the country. Sir, if we embrace parliamentary system of government now, how can those good, attributes be enhanced in the parliamentary system? Thank you very much. I get to know, sir.
Toby, your question, you had already marshaled answers with the question. So, though, we'll answer you when the time comes. From what you have said, we've gotten another answer. The last...
Okay, thank you very much, the guest speaker. My question goes thus that there is evidence to indicate over the years that it has been agitation in Nigeria has been as a result of the revenue sharing formula, in which we have the 30% derivation, in which some states say, why should money being gathered from a particular set of states be centered at the what? Controlled by the federal government. Now, my question is that we have evidence shows that there are some countries which the revenue that is allocated to the federal government is between 30 and 40%. And over the year, we have had commission that have reviewed the the formula. So why is it so difficult in the presidential system to reduce the sharing formula to favor the state rather than the federal government? Thank you.
So, those are the last two questions, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that question. What are the importance of presidential or parliamentary over the federal system that we run? The parliamentary, just like you said, and the MC have said it, that you have marshaled the answer into your questions. They suppress the executive and they suppress the rule of law, and there's no checks and balances. Now let me give you this scenario. We have the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission, RAMFAC, that determines the salary, not the revenue, not the salaries of every public workers, including our lawmakers. But what do we have in Nigeria? The lawmakers set their own benchmark, separate from ours. And now, you want to take out the executive and now promote these people. What do you think he will have? It still boils down to character and strong institutions that we do not have. There's no system that is valid. We have strong institutions. Yes, we could do parliamentary. I also said that we are running a diluted federal system. A federation is a collaboration between the federal government and the state. The inclusion of local government is an anathema. The state should be able to create the numbers of local governments as they wish. Now, can you imagine? From Kano, we have created Katsina, we have created Kebbi. Kano is still having 44 local governments. Kebbi about 33. Katsina about 28. Yet Lagos, Jigawa is also part of it. Lagos, that has been the seat of power, with more than 25 million inhabitants, is still having 20. And every month we go to Abuja to share this revenue from oil. This is what is wrong with us. There's insincerity of purpose. And that was why I mentioned it briefly, that the one we are running is both geographical, political, and even ethnicity is all combined. There is a diluted form of federation. That is why some people have called for true federalism in Nigeria. That the creation of local government is the sole responsibility. What the legislature of every house shall have responsibility for local governments, including its creation, including its management, including its oversight. But because of some selfish interest, some people decided to subjugate that. And then we have this, I don't know, how do we call it in Yoruba? Amulumalavi. So, my brother, when you get to our position, do your best and leave the rest. Yes, evidence of agitation of revenue sharing formula, especially the derivation of 13%, is also an injustice. I made mention that no nation gets rich by trading off their collective assets. Let me say this. Nigeria is not as rich as we were in 1960. And this is the reason. In 1960, if you take the quantum of natural resources that we have, and the one we have sold off is like a father that has given a child 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 as inheritance. This is the total quantum of resources and potential that God has given us in Nigeria. From 1958 that we discover oil officially, because Shell has operated in Enugu for good 40 years, stealing our oil. 40 years, stealing our oil. And it's only in Nigeria that you have our national truck line bifurcated and stealing oil every day for past 9 years, and no one has been caught. So the story of Nigeria is that the father has left these 10 things to the child, and he took this one to the market and sold it for $1 million, and is rejoicing that he has money. The net worth, is he having money or not? He's not having anything. What has happened to Olobiri, where we first discovered oil? It has been capped with devastating degradation of the environment and misery foisted on the people that live there. And that will be the story. Now that they have found another means of powering their industry, they said end net zero fossil in 2030. Africans need to sit down and reason out a way. If we think we want to collaborate with these people, we are wasting our time. They will always take advantage of us and exploit us. And this is where you come in to find a way out for us. What Nigeria is doing is that we are selling our inheritance little by little. There will be a time, unless we sit down to create wealth, that will have zero. And then our trouble now begins. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the question and answer session. Mr. Wede, you can take over. Thank you very much.
I believe today that we enjoy the lecture. The last thing online is the vote of thanks by our special dean, Professor Ogunbadewa. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you, everybody. And still standing on existing protocol. However, I will thank our landlord, Alale, Ebo, Eto, Irukere, Adabere, and our commissioner too. Well, as a pastor, I tap from the anointing. So that's why the chairman, also Mr. Akonde from Okeagbe. Well, you are also welcome. The boss is with you there. Well, I thank everybody, especially the great Nigerian students. But I just want to shed some light on what we have discussed. Because no knowledge is lost. And again, we are like this, what we have discussed today, I will just talk the element of political economy. But let us look at it from this dimension. First, when you are talking of two governments, which is parliamentary and presidential system. Well, I experienced the two. Because one, I studied in Britain, and when you are talking of federal system, I was in Brazil in Institute of Astronomy as a research fellow. So I can explain to you very well. But I will still prefer that when you talk about the cost, parliamentary is very cheap. At the same time, it's all inclusive. Because in Britain, if conservative is ruling now, all the other parties, they have percentage of number of votes they must have. So with that number of votes, they still have what is called shadow minister. So when you have minister of finance, which is the one in government, you have a shadow minister. It's also paid. But whereas in Nigeria, if PDP wins, then all the other ones, they are not paid everything. That's why this thing. Then when you are talking of federal system, it's a sort of a federating this in which each of the component parts, they have one thing in common. Like in Brazil, international relation is federal. Defense is federal. But when you are talking of police, the university have police. Then immediately you go to outside Akungba police is there, and so on. But nonetheless, the time is going, and so on. But nonetheless, all the things that I've said, what is important is everything depends on the operator. If the operator is not good, then no system that you do that is well. Then again, our check and balances, especially our judiciary, there are some judgments that come from our judiciary that, we should not talk much about that one. That's one. Then, but what I just want to say, in essence, I thank everyone, and I also wish that this type of public lecture in our faculty, since it's started by economics department, all the other departments within the faculty should also be preparing. So also, other friends from another faculties too, they should also be preparing. Because in all these things, it's a sort of a synergy between the town and gang. Because we here now, we are just writing the theory, but the users, they are the political office holders. So, the commissioner was quoting Obama. Definitely, you must quote Obama because he's an academic. So, what he has done in the university, you are now using it. So, you are the end user. So, and also the chairman of from North Akoko, Northwest, you are also quoting some other things. So, in nutshell, practical and theory now converge in this public lecture. So I thank you very much, and God bless all. Thank you.
Let's appreciate our Dean. God bless.
Also, we appreciate everybody. Now, we want to draw the curtain here by standing up, taking the national anthem and the school anthem.
Thank you very much. We wish you journey mercy.